Assalomu alaykum hurmatli talabalar. Bugun sizlar bilan Mirzo Ulug'bek nomidagi O'zbekiston Milliy Universiteti Ingliz filologiyasi kafedrasi dotsenti Ibrohimjon Ўсаров Қиёсий tipologiya fandan ma'ruza darslarini olib boradi. Ruxsat bersanglar, ma'ruzani ingliz tilida davom ettirsak. Rahmat. Dear students, today we are going to discuss some problems on the contact, subject matter and methods of comparative typology, principles and methods of comparative typological analysis. The below are given the plan and the keywords of the lecture. As we know, comparative typology is a relatively independent science suggested for graduation courses. It is a teaching discipline recommended for learning in 1970 at language faculties at universities. The purpose of the course is to introduce students to the systematic comparative study of the structures of modern English, Uzbek, and Russian, especially in three main aspects of them: phonetics, phonology, grammar, here we mean morphology and syntax, and word stock. This means that we shall learn the three main systems of the compared languages. They are phonological system, grammatical system, and lexical system. We pursue the following six main purposes in studying comparative typology. The first, to work out methodical recommendations for teaching English at Uzbek, Russian schools, to work out methodical recommendations for translation process, to develop language theory, to verify the established language universals, to reveal the unique features of languages, to reveal such features as unnoticeable ones when learned alone. Comparative typology is a branch of linguistics, and it is closely linked with all linguistic levels of analysis. We will study the structure of modern English, Uzbek, and Russian as to phonological, morphological, lexical, and syntactical systems. An all-round comparative typology of the languages in question is subordinated to one main purpose, that is, to the introduction of future teachers of the English language and translators or interpreters to the comparative study of English, Uzbek, and Russian in order that they may work out theoretically well-based, linguistically well-grounded methods of teaching a foreign language on the one hand, and of translation activities from English into Uzbek or Russian and vice versa on the other. This kind of comparative study of the languages is achieved by distinguishing both similarities and dissimilarities between the languages in question. Comparative typology is a part of general linguistics and takes its certain worthy place among other branches of it. There are certain correlations between the comparative typology and the other branches of general linguistics based on the method of comparison. They are comparative historical linguistics, areal linguistics, typological linguistics, comparative linguistics. So, comparative historical linguistics studies degree of relationship and origin of languages by establishing genetic links between languages compared, main purpose being restoration of the parent language from which the languages compared have originated. So, the object of investigation for comparative historical linguistics is the relatively thin languages, for example, Turkic languages, Romanic languages, Slavonic languages, Germanic languages. Areal linguistics Areal linguistics studies languages irrespective of their areal geography and kinship with the purpose of establishing allomorphic and isomorphic features, that is, similarities and dissimilarities of the languages compared. But some linguists think that there exist also such branches of general linguistics which pretend to be relatively independent. They are contrastive linguistics, confrontative linguistics, differential linguistics, contact linguistics, characterological linguistics or characterology, typological linguistics, comparative linguistics, comparative typology. Contrastive linguistics studies the dissimilarities or contrasts between languages compared. Here the accent is made of distinguishing specific features of a language as different from those of others. For example, English has prepositions, article, 16 tense forms, gerund, diphthongs, prefix, whereas Uzbek has postpositions like uchun, sari, 10 tense forms, harakatnoma, rabishdosh. There are 3 main tenses in Russian and 2 different finite forms: прошедшее, настоящее, будущее времени, и harakatnoma, rabishdosh. So there are 10 tenses in all Uzbek. O'tgan zaman is divided into 5. They are aniq o'tgan zaman, uzoq o'tgan zaman hikoya shakli, o'tgan zaman davomiy shakli, o'tgan zaman eshitilganlik shakli. Hozirgi zaman so is divided into 2. Aniq hozirgi zaman like kelayotirman, kelyapman, or hozirgi kelasi zaman like ishlayapman, yoki doim ishlayman, ertaga ishlayman. And kelasi zaman is divided into 3. Kelasi zaman maqsad shakli like moqchiman, kelasi zaman gumon shakli o'qirman, kelasi zaman lozim shakli keladigan. So the object of analysis in such studies is borrowing language contacts, language unions, bilingualism, and phenomena of superstratum, substratum, and abstract. Confrontative linguistics studies both the similarities and dissimilarities of the languages compared. The main purpose here is to develop the language theory by revealing the isomorphic and allomorphic features of the compared languages, and to work out effective methods of translating or interpreting from one language into the other. Differential linguistics studies the same problem that confrontative linguistics does. Contact linguistics is a new branch of linguistics that studies any 2 languages in everyday close contact, like Uzbek and Russian or Chinese and English in Hong Kong, establishing factors of substratum, superstratum, and adstratum, and revealing the factors that precondition the latter. Such studies are also aimed at disclosing the linguodidactic and translatological aspects of the compared languages in contact. Characterological linguistics or characterology studies all formal and functional units of a given language at a given moment in the context of general linguistics as to Rojdestvinsky, and it is aimed at comparing one language in comparison with several other through the prism of one of them. Characterology deals with the open list of differential features, but with one closed list of languages compared, whereas typology deals with the closed list of differential features of the languages compared, but with the open list of the languages in comparison. Typological linguistics studies languages irrespective of their origin, areal and kinship, with the purpose of establishing similarities, dissimilarities between any pair of languages, or more than that, the geography, origin, and quantity of the languages compared plays no role at all. It is aimed at revealing common, like universal, and specific, like unique features of human language. Comparative linguistics, so it studies languages, usually two languages irrespective of their kinship, areal features, with the purpose of establishing similarities and dissimilarities between the compared languages, of developing the language theory and working out effective methods of translating or interpreting from one language into the other. Comparative typology. Comparative typology studies two languages, foreign language and mother tongue, in contact in order to work out effective methodical recommendations for teaching the former at school, to work out effective methodical recommendations for translation process, to verify and establish, if necessary, the correlation between universal, like absolute, frequent, and implicational, and specific, like recessive ionic features in languages compared, as well as to establish new features of languages that are not noticeable in learning one language alone, developing that way the language theory. As we see, our course, Comparative Typology, is aimed at comparing English and Uzbek or Russian with the purpose of working out methodical recommendations for teaching English at Uzbek or Russian schools, working out methodical recommendations for translation process, verifying language constants like universals, frequentals, implications, revealing the new features of the compared languages, if possible, that may not be so revealed in monolingual studies, thus developing or elaborating the language theory. All this is usually carried out by taking into account the typological features of the languages subjected to comparison. That is to say that English is an analytical language type, Uzbek agglutinative, and Russian flective, which should always be kept in mind while arriving at certain conclusions of comparative typological character. All the above-mentioned branches of linguistics, based on the method of comparison, may be well termed as comparativistics, as to Serebrennikov, who is a founder of the latter. When comparing the whole units of the languages in contact, one has to strictly keep to the most reliable principles and use effective methods of linguistic analysis, which without which any comparative study is doomed to failure. In any linguistic research or analysis of the languages in comparison or contact, the following main effective and tested principles of comparative typological analysis are advisable to be applied. They are: principle of comparative typological or comparability of language systems, principle of comparative typological comparability of systems and strict unified terms and definitions, principles of binarity or polarity of the languages subjected to comparative typological analysis, principle of building meta-language and etalon language for investigation, principle of uniformity or functional styles of the phenomena of the compared languages, principles of creating a special typological theory of the compared phenomena, principle of grammatical rightness of the compared phenomena, principle of systematic relations between the levels of linguistic hierarchy, principles of synchronism or diachronism or panchronism of investigation, principle of analogy or equivalency of the compared phenomena, principle of accounting the kinship of the compared languages, principle of accounting the borrowings like substratum, superstratum, adstratum in the compared languages, principle of accounting the functional styles in the compared languages, principles of accounting the dialectal features of the compared languages, principles of the areal unrestrictedness of the compared languages, principle of accounting a type of language and a type in a language, principle of leading to linguistic universals like frequentals, implications, recessives, and unicals or verifications, principle of elaboration of typological taxonomics or classification of languages, and the last one, principle of practical and theoretical fitness of the result of the typological investigation. So, the above-mentioned principles of comparative typological analysis are very effective and reliable because they are well-tested and proven in our analysis of the composite sentences of modern English, Uzbek, and Russian. They prove to be universal in comparative typological mix of different makes use of different modern methods of linguistic analysis, like comparative method, method of parts of sentence, componential method, distributional method, oppositional method, transformational method, method of IC, digmamic method, statistical method, contextual method, field method, inductive method, and deductive method. So these methods are used extensively in general linguistics, and they are applicable in comparative typology as well. Among them, the method of comparative typological analysis is the main one. Others are helpful and effective when necessary. Comparative typology is closely linked with the following philological sciences: general linguistics, special linguistics, comparative linguistics, contrastive linguistics, confrontative linguistics, characterological linguistics, typological linguistics, historical comparative linguistics, theory and practice of translation, grammar, phonetics, stylistics, textology, lexicology, lexicography, phraseology, phraseography, pragmatic linguistics, cognitive linguistics, linguiculturology, social linguistics, psycholinguistics, methods of teaching languages, and etc. So, comparative typology cooperates with all of these branches of linguistics in accordance with purposes and tasks of this or that investigation needed in both theoretical and applied linguistics, including interfacial sciences. That's all about our lecture today. Thank you for your attention.